The rain hammered against the window like impatient fingers tapping out a Morse code warning, turning the world outside into a blurry smear of neon and asphalt. I'd pulled into the Whispering Pines in just after midnight, my rental car's GPS insisting this was the only lodging for miles along the fog-choked coastal highway in Northern California. The place looked like it had been forgotten by time-faded wooden sign, swinging creakily in the wind, parking lot cracked and overgrown with weeds. A single moth-battered light buzzing over the office door like a harbinger of bad decisions. But exhaustion from the 12-hour drive from Seattle had won out over my better judgment. One night, I told myself, gripping the steering wheel a little tighter, just one night to recharge before hitting the road again for that conference in San Francisco. The night clerk was a wiry woman in her 50s named Evelyn. Her name tag said so, though it was crooked and faded with a smoker's cough that rattled, like loose gravel, and eyes that darted like she was expecting trouble around every corner. She barely glanced up from her crossword puzzle as I checked in, sliding the key across the scarred counter without a word, only muttering, "Room 108. Ice machine's broken. Checkout's at 11. I nodded, too tired to care or question the faint smell of stale tobacco clinging to her clothes, and trudged to the end of the L-shaped building, my suitcase wheels rattling over the uneven pavement like a reluctant accomplice. Room 108 was a time capsule of bad decisions. Mustard Gilo curtains frayed at the edges, a sagging queen bed with a comforter that looked like it hadn't seen a wash since the 80s, and a faint mildew scent that no amount of pine-scented air freshener could mask. The walls were paper-thin, transmitting muffled snores from the room next door like unwanted secrets. I locked the door with a satisfying click, flipped the deadbolt, and added the chain for good measure. Old habits from years of solo road trips as a freelance journalist covering everything from tech startups to environmental scandals. I'd learned early on that paranoia could be a lifesaver. After all, statistics show that women traveling alone face higher risks of harassment, or worse, in transient places like motels. To add an extra layer, I wedged a portable doorstop alarm under the door, a nifty gadget I'd picked up after reading about cases where intruders used simple tools to bypass locks. It was small, rubbery, and equipped with a 120 decibel siren that could wake the dead, or at least alert the neighbors. I stripped down, showered under lukewarm water that sputtered like it resented the effort, the shower curtain billowing inward, with every gust from the faulty vent brushing my skin like ghostly fingers. I yanked it back repeatedly, my mind flashing to those horror stories I'd researched for an article once. Hidden cameras in hotel rooms, like the Minnesota case where a stranger filmed guests in bed after getting a key from negligent staff. Or worse, the Fort Worth incident, where a front desk worker allegedly let an intruder into a woman's room, leading to a sexual assault lawsuit. Shaking off the chill, I toweled dry and collapsed onto the bed, the springs groaning in protest. The TV flickered to life with some late-night infomercial about miracle kitchen gadgets, its glow chasing elongated shadows across the peeling wallpaper. Sleep came fast, heavy, and dreamless until the scratching started. It was subtle at first, like nails on wood, coming from the wall behind the headboard around 2:45 a.m. I stirred, half asleep, assuming it was the storm branches scraping, the exterior siding, maybe, or the building settling in the relentless wind. But it persisted, rhythmic and deliberate. Scratch, scratch, pause, scratch, scratch, pause, like someone or something was testing the boundaries, probing for a way in. My eyes snapped open, heart kicking into overdrive as adrenaline flooded my system. I sat up slowly, the bedsheets rustling too loudly in the quiet, and pressed my ear to the cold wall. The sound shifted, now seeming to emanate from below, under the bed. No, that couldn't be right. I flicked on the bedside lamp, its weak 40-watt bulb casting long, distorted shadows that danced mockingly. Kneeling down, I shone my phone's flashlight. Under the bed, nothing but dust bunnies, a forgotten soda can, and my discarded shoes. I laughed it off nervously. Nerves, fatigue, the creaky old building playing tricks. But as a solo traveler, I'd internalized tips from experts. Always trust your gut, because ignoring red flags can turn a minor annoyance into a nightmare. I reminded myself of advice from seasoned female road warriors. Vary your routine, like using different hotel entrances to avoid patterns that predators might spot. Tonight, I'd parked out front, but entered through a side door, small habits that add up. The scratching returned, louder now, migrating to the closet door across the room. Scratch, scratch, like claws or fingers etching into the wood, seeking weakness. My skin prickled with goosebumps. This wasn't the wind. This was intentional, calculated. I bolted upright, phone in hand, flashlight app piercing the gloom as I yanked open the closet. Empty hangers swaying gently, a dusty iron on the shelf, and an access panel in the back wall that looked suspiciously loose. Hotels like this often have hidden maintenance crawl spaces between rooms. I'd learned from online forums perfect for eavesdroppers, or worse. But as I stood there, heart pounding, the sound slithered away again. This time echoing faintly from the bathroom, panic rising. I dialed the front desk, the line ringing 5 times before Evelyn's raspy voice answered. What? There's ... scratching in my room, like something's in the walls, or trying to... A long pause, then a sigh, heavy with irritation. Old place. Rats, probably. I'll send maintenancing. It's not rats, I whispered, my voice tighter than intended, glancing at the door. It sounds human, deliberate. She snorted dismissively. Lady, it's 3 a.m., go back to sleep. The line went dead, leaving me in silence. So thick, it hummed in my ears. The scratching stopped abruptly, replaced by an even more unsettling quiet. I paced the room, every creak of the warped floorboards amplifying my paranoia. Maybe I was overreacting. Motels like this had thin walls, weird acoustics from shing. But then, the whisper started. It was faint at first, muffled through the adjoining wall from room 109, a low murmur. Words indistinguishable but urgent, like someone pleading or plotting in hushed tones. I froze, straining to listen over the rain. Then clearer snippets pierced through. She's alone. Yeah, room 108. Doors old, ... easy pick. My blood turned to ice, veins thrumming with fear. This wasn't paranoia. This was real. I'd read about hotel staff rigging rooms for voyeurs, or predators. Like the case where a hotel owner was sued for nearly $1 million after an attempted assault by an intruder who gained access through lax security. I grabbed my keys, ready to bolt for the car, but the whispering cut off mints. Heavy footsteps thudded in the hallway outside, deliberate, unhurried. I killed the TV and lights, plunging the room into inky darkness, and crept to the peephole. My blow. There she was, Evelyn, not in her uniform but in faded jeans, and a hooded sweatshirt, a toolkit dangling from one hand like a thief's prize. She glanced left and right, the hallway's flickering fluorescent light casting eerie shadows on her face, then knelt by my door, inserting a thin, metallic pick lock. The scratching resumed not from the walls now, but from the door itself, as she worked the mechanism with practiced ease. She'd tampered with it during check-in. I realized with a sickening lurch prepared it for this very moment. Panic surged like a tidal wave. I backed away silently, dialing 911 with trembling fingers. Someone's breaking into my room, I hissed to the dispatcher, voice barely whisper. Whispering Pines in room 108. Hurry, it's the clerk. The lock clicked the same off sound I'd did earlier. The deadbolt held for now, but she was jiggling it, whispering through the emerging crack. Ma'am, maintenance. Heard you had a pest problem. Open up, it's just me, fixing things. I stayed silent, pressing against the far wall, but my doorstop was ready. Sirens wailed in the distance, faint but growing louder, cutting through the storm. Evelyn cursed under her breath. the toolkit clattering as she stood abruptly. Footsteps retreated, fast and uneven, echoing down the hall. The police arrived minutes later, their cruiser's lights flashing blue and red across the flooded lot like a chaotic strobe. They pounded on the office door, then burst in, finding Evelyn huddled in the back room amid a stash of small cameras, audio recorders, and wall-scratching tools claws on sticks, designed to mimic rodents from hidden panels. Turns out she'd been rigging rooms for months, planting bugs in vents and access points to eavesdrop on guests, scratching at walls to heighten fear and drive them irritability. It was her twisted game. Terrorize solo travelers, record their panic-stricken reactions, and sell the audio clips on dark web forums for authentic sounds. A few victims had fled in the night, convinced the place was haunted. Others nearly let her in for help. One cop shook his head as they cuffed her, rain dripping from his hat. Got lucky. She was escalating started, whispering to lure M out. Your call probably saved the next one. We've seen similar setups in other cases, like those where staff hand over keys to predators vacation. I drove away at dawn, the rain finally easing into a misty drizzle, but the whispers and scratches echo in my head, even now. Every motel wall feels too thin, every unexpected noise a potential threat. As a solo female traveler, I've doubled down on safety. Always request upper floor rooms near elevators for quicker escapes. Verify staff identities with the front desk, even if it's the same person. And carry a personal safety kit with a whistle, pepper spray, and a window alarm. I've also started sharing my location in real time with trusted friends via apps, and I never hesitate to make noise screaming, calling authorities if something feels off. Because the scariest monsters aren't under the bed. They're the ones who check you in with a disinterested glance, waiting patiently for the lights to go out. And in a world where real-life horrors like privacy invasions and targeted intrusions happen more often than we'd like to admit, staying informed and vigilant isn't just smart, it's survival. Thanks for watching.